Tell them what you just did.
Howdy, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of the B Team.
Tell them what you just did.
A NASCAR Top 5 Tuesday.
And Nick's not even here.
We are a pit crew in here. Literally 10 seconds before the show started, I busted the back out of one of the former chairs. And Cade was getting ready to hit go. We had to stop him.
You busted the back out of the chair.
Richard ran into the closet, got the new chair. I get the old one off. We pit change it. And we are on air on a Top 5 Tuesday on the B Team, presented by Southwood Valley Animal Hospital, a full-service veterinary clinic offering tailor-made wellness plans for your pet, sick visits, daytime emergency care, and vet surgical capabilities, preventative medicine, and much more. Aggie-owned and operated. Go see them. They are currently doing a remodel, but they are temporarily located at 3206 Longmire Drive in College Station. Boy, what a weekend we had here in Aggieland. A lot of W's, a lot of historical moments, memorable moments. I had quite the Saturday, as I'm sure you did as well, Richard, overseeing the content coming out of the game, overseeing the social media posts and the live game updates.
And my parents were in town.
Your parents were in town.
Your dad was here.
My dad and uncle were here. You got to watch the game with Dolores Lucci.
Well, I watched the first half with Dolores Lucci.
So I think we have a scapegoat.
Yeah, I think we figured out the issue. And I don't think Dolores is the problem. I think it's when we watch the game with Dolores that's the problem. So Luke and I
very nice job of tap dancing around that.
We typically watch the games here in the lobby. We don't go across the street. Luke, behind the scenes, if you want to know a little bit more, he usually does the Twitter in-game updates from the TexAgs account. And I like to hang out because I'm doing the post-game publishing duties. So we usually sit in the lobby. And Billy's mom has joined us for 2 games. The Florida game, she left at halftime. You know what happened in the second half? A&M kind of ran away from the Gators. And then she decided she wanted to watch this game with us. So we both made it through the first half with Miss Lucci. Luke went home at halftime to watch the rest of the game from his house, and I moved to the production room and did not watch with Dolores.
Well, over the course of about 2 hours on Saturday, we went from nuclear meltdown to historical moment in Texas A&M football history. It's pretty wild how that can happen. There are a lot of individual circumstances that must lead to that moment, that must lead to a historical comeback. I just interviewed Jamarian Morrow, and he told me that, this week in practice, the focus has definitely been on, hey, we're happy that we came back and won, but it's not always a great thing to have to come back from 27 down. So how do we prevent that from ever happening again? I do not anticipate it happening this week, regardless of opponent, but especially of opponent, if you know what I'm saying. As Samford, the 1-10 Samford Bulldogs roll into town.
The 1-10 FCS Samford Bulldogs.
Yes, 1-10 who are also on a new coach.
Was Bucky also coaching their football team?
He probably could have, but no, they fired, and I forget the guy's name. They fired their head coach a couple of weeks ago, played their first game without him last week and lost. So, but I think the focus of the team will obviously be on themselves and getting them back to the standard ahead of a hugely important game in Austin. And then now we know, barring the most improbable upset in the history of sports on Saturday, Texas A&M will be going to the playoffs. You enter the Texas game at 11-0, your work's done. You'll be amongst the final 12 teams competing for a national championship. From then on, it's about winning in Austin, something that you haven't done since 2010. It's about getting to an SEC championship game, something that you've never done. It's about winning an SEC championship, something you've never done. A conference title, first one since 1998. And then obviously the program's first playoff appearance. And that is why this show, a top-of-mind sports show. By the way, let's welcome in our producer, Cade Bickham, still working on those new glasses. But, hey, Cade, you don't mess with a winning streak. You got to keep those old ratty things. You're going to have to be off the dating market until this football season ends.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you want to help Cade get new glasses eventually, just click that thumbs up. Every time you click the thumbs up, this show gains 1/100th of a cent. We earn 1/100th of a cent.
I'm sure Kay Nagley knows about the analytics.
And so it's equivalent to a Schrute buck. if any Office fans out there. It's equivalent to a Shroot buck. Every like is equivalent to a Shroot buck. So when you click that thumbs up, we get 1/100th of a cent. We get enough of those. Cade Bickham gets new glasses. Cade Bickham gets a girlfriend. Cade Bickham gets a house. Cade Bickham has children. All of this because you click that thumbs up button. Not guilting you into anything.
You know what?
You have free will here.
We talk about getting
But it costs you nothing.
We talk about getting Cade a new pair of glasses pretty much daily on this show. He walked in on Sunday to help Nick do some publishing or producing, directing and stuff, not wearing glasses.
Whoa.
I'm thinking that these are just a fashion statement and he doesn't actually require them.
He's looking for sympathy from viewers of the BT.
I promise you I'm very blind. I wear contacts on occasion.
So do we want to raise money to get Cade a new pair of glasses or do we want to raise money to get Cade LASIK?
You can't. LASIK is like so $19.99.
I'd take the money for some more contacts. I'm getting kind of low.
Now he does have it. It took him all of about Cade. 2 weeks on this bit before he legitimately puts his hand out there.
Look, I actually need some cash.
We appreciate everybody joining us. If you're on TexAgs.com/live in the premium chat, which Cade is keeping an eye on, or if you're joining us via YouTube, the TexAgs YouTube page, had some folks in the chat already. WD6919.
Nice.
Says, so it is starting to look like another thermonuclear meltdown maybe on the horizon for another rival of ours. I don't know if that's something that has happened in the last hour, but I haven't seen anything come across my scrolls. But I also haven't been on my phone at all since I've been here at TexAgs doing some of these NIL interviews.
Last thing I saw on my scrolls was Gary Sheffield hitting nukes at age 51. That
has nothing to do with the subject matter at hand.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know I haven't seen anything.
But we do have to get into the Lane Kiffin stuff. Continues to roll on.
But before we do that, do you want me to read a premium chat real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
I got to keep editing. It's TB40 says it's crazy. I've been to 5 games since 2001, and I was there on Saturday, and it was at the Chick-fil-A Bowl against Duke, 2 of the biggest comebacks in Aggie history.
So we need to make sure that guy shows up if A&M's ever down.
What was the other game you went to?
Important
UCLA?
games going forward. Whoa.
Just like it seems like crazy
comebacks on our viewers.
Crazy comebacks are TB40's thing. So I just want to know. I'm trying to figure it out.
My uncle had not been to a game. I thought it was further back than that.
He told me this too. It's crazy.
So my uncle, who lives in Missouri, Texas A&M former student, class of 1975, I believe, 76. Somewhere around that area. And the last game that he had come to, 2021 Alabama, drove in from Missouri and was inside Cal Field for Texas A&M South Carolina on Saturday. So what a cool experience it was for me to experience to sit through that with my dad and my uncle. They're both former students. They had not attended a game together, I don't think, since they were going to school. Remember, my uncle was going to school here. So it was very rewarding day, regardless of the outcome. But the comeback made it all, enhanced it 10x fold, 10x fold, 10x fold, 100x, 1000x. Well, we got some more stuff to get through. So kind of threw me off track there. I had some plans to segue what I was talking about with Lane Kiffin, and then I don't know. There's birdies chirping about Steve Sarkisian. Do we believe these birdies? One of them is one of the faces of College Game Day. Desmond Howard took to social media yesterday, posted it on Instagram first, and then followed it up a few hours later by reposting it on Twitter about just what he's hearing about the Texas job being open. And that comes on the heels of a couple of weeks ago, the rumors that Steve Sarkisian was looking at jobs in the NFL. The Texas athletic director thought it was appropriate to take to Twitter and quote tweet the Desmond Howard video and act like this was news to him, that he hadn't heard anything of the sort. But you know how these things work, man. Where there's smoke, there's at least a little bit of fire. I'm not saying the guy's leaving, but there's enough people talking, both publicly and behind closed doors, that it's not nothing. So we'll keep an eye on that in Austin. The Lane Kiffin saga continues to go back and forth. We'll continue to get into that. Virginia Tech has hired James Franklin. And I want to start talking about fallback options for these big jobs that remain open. And Ole Miss, LSU, Florida. Well, right now, Ole Miss has a coach. What would you do if you were Lane Kiffin's if you were the athletic director for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss? He went on the Pat McAfee show today to try to clear some of the air in regards to the ultimatum given, or reportedly given, I should say, about his time in Oxford, and said they were patently false, and that he intends to on coaching Ole Miss through the remainder of the season. But we'll get into that later. We have to start with all those coaching names I just rattled off. You know, on Top 5 Tuesdays, we always do the top 5 winners and losers of college football each weekend. I think a unanimous number 1 will be reached on the top 5 losers. And so let's just go ahead and start talking about the comeback that was.
Not on my list. If that's your number 1, he's not on my top 5 losers.
You're crazy.
I'm not, because I didn't want to put him on my list because I knew we were going to talk about him at length.
He's standing on the top of the mountain.
He's the biggest loser in all of college football, but he's been the biggest loser in college football.
So as both teams were exiting the field on Saturday before half, sat down in my seat, obviously a little bit shell-shocked at what I just watched, and I can hear kind of a roar, small roar coming from the southeast corner of Kyle Field, where the South Carolina delegation is housed. Wade teams are visitor fans
Their
are
section.
Sat over there, and I look up and I caught Shane Beamer flailing his arms in the air like a madman.
You texted me about it. You're like, the cornball just made a scene or something. I forget what your exact words were.
So he's waving his arms, he's pumping his fists in the air like he won the game. And it was right there in that moment that I said, this isn't over. If there's anything, if their football gods saw that, and I know they did, because this is one of the cathedrals of college football across the street, the football gods were watching him. He acted like he won the game. His pompous interview between quarters, the way he acted last year after they beat A&M in Columbia, it all came to a head. And it could not have been more justified for a guy that was asking for it. Have you ever seen a person like this guy's asking for it? He's asking for the world and karma to come back and not only punch him in the face, but once he's down on the ground, just beat him over the head with a shovel. And it happened in front of 108,000 Aggies. It happened in front of the entire South Carolina fan base, both in attendance and watching on TV. It happened in front of their administrators. It happened in front of their boosters. Everybody saw it. In South Carolina football, I will give you some credit. You've got some spine. You've got some wherewithal on social media. You did not remove the clip. You kept it up for it to be quote tweeted and retweeted by every college football fan on Twitter. They all had takes. They all took turns burying your head coach and your program, and you didn't budge. You didn't bend the knee and delete it. Good on you for that.
The exact words you used when you texted me were, Beamer just exited the field like a complete buffoon. And then I texted you about 50 minutes later, so this would have been early third quarter, said, it would please me greatly if this were Beamer's Sumlin game.
And guess
for
what?
all intents and purposes, it seems like it will be. Because I went back and compared the win probability statistics from that fateful Sunday evening at the Rose Bowl. I know you were there. I was there. We did not know each other at the time. And compared it to the win probability of Saturday afternoon at Kyle Field. Very, very similar. Except the spike in UCLA's direction was way more drastic than the constant, fall from grace that USC experienced on Saturday.
So in the first half, I was getting a lot of questions from my dad and my uncle, but also sitting around some folks that just kind of knew what I did and worked at TexAgs, and they're, Brauny, what's going on? What's going on? And really the explanation that I have wasn't going to satisfy anybody, and I'm not sure there was going to be an explanation that satisfied emotional, angry fans. But it's that you are dealing, and Mike Elko said exactly this in his post-game press conference, and then in his Monday presser, you're dealing with kids.
Yeah.
And consistency is not something that they do in their everyday lives by their nature. It's not anything wrong with them, but they are fighting consistency battles from 18 to 22 years old. They really start fighting them from about 13 to 22 years old. That's just the nature of what this is. And so A&M had up to this point, have they played some C- football at times, yes, but it's typically mitigated by the offense C-, the defense A-. Or in South Bend, the offense A+, the defense C+. You know, like these spells where one element of the football team doesn't play well have been counterbalanced by another one playing exceptionally well. But what we saw on Saturday in the first half was a group of 18 to 22-year-old kids who had been playing with a fair amount of consistency. So in my mind, I'm going, as this is unfolding, in my mind, I'm going, this is due to happen. You know, you and I are baseball fans, and you just know over the course of a season, especially when you play that many games, you're due a couple of bad ones.
Sure.
You're not going to go out there and play well every single weekend. No different with football. You just have a lot less opportunities. So up to this point in the season, they had not played an unmitigated disaster, and they did in the first half on Saturday.
Yeah, it's really the only way to describe what we saw over the first 30 minutes.
Every
drive
element
chart was insanely bad.
Every element was bad. There wasn't one thing you could point to and say, you know what? They're playing B to B+ football. You know, the
offensive line was getting dominated up
Yes.
front. They couldn't run for anything. They ran backwards in the first half to the tune of -9 yards. The receivers, every single one of them had at least one key terrible drop. Casey Concepcion's the most memorable one because it directly took points off the board. Marcel Reed, obviously, he commits 3 turnovers, right?
It could have been
2
4 or
interceptions.
5.
Yeah, it could have been 4 or 5. Casey Concepcion, again, got to take the highs and the lows. He played a really good cornerback on one of those plays. The running backs obviously did nothing. Tight ends, receivers did nothing. Even the secondary, or even the special teams. Randy Bond missed 2 field goals. Not good. Then, I mean, different position groups on the defensive side just took turns not covering, not fitting, not making tackles. And it looked very similar to the second half we saw last year in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, I thought it was even more out of character, though, because you mentioned the drops and you mentioned how, you know, Marcel has been careless with the football at times this year, but he hadn't been that careless. The offensive line has really never been leaky at all. It was real leaky in the first half. The receivers with the drops, and we haven't seen that 1 ounce of that this year.
No, we haven't.
So it was so out of character from everybody that the next question I want to ask is something that I've asked the players that have come in here is, when did you start feeling like this was real? Well, my first inkling that A&M could do this was watching that cornball walk off the field at halftime like that. Celebrating like not only did he win the game, he was celebrating like he won the presidential election of the United States. Like he was walking out to his podium to talk to his contingents about winning the election for the United States president. That's how he was acting.
That's when you thought A&M had a
you know
chance, just
what?
because you're superstitious and you kind of got the vibe that the sports gods might smite him.
Shane Beamer would make a good politician. The way he crawfished out of the taking responsibility and ownership for the 12th man line, the true 12th man, as he described South Carolina fans in 2024, he crawfished his way out of that. And then when he realized he may be on his way to a victory, the smugness, it couldn't stay inside. It had to come out. It came out in the between quarter interview. It came out on his walk through the tunnel at halftime. But he's more of a politician than he is a football coach, in my mind.
You think so?
Because the real football coach was on the other sideline, who took it on the chin, didn't act a fool, walked into the locker room, addressed his team. I don't think he gave him a big rah-rah speech. And he said that he didn't. I tend to believe him. Because it's really about honing in on the standard and getting everybody to just realize what's happening here. Like, you don't have to yell and scream at them. They know what's on the line. They're 9-0. They've been to South Bend and won. They've been to LSU and won. They've been to Missouri and won. They know that this isn't anywhere near the standard, and they also know by now they have enough confidence to go, okay, if we can right the ship, we're not out of this game. We just got to play to our standard. And so you don't have to go yell, kicking and screaming and slamming stuff against the wall to get their attention on that kind of deal, especially with a team that's this mature. But the quote that Mike Elko gave in his press conference yesterday, which has gone viral, deservedly so, was so good. It was so good for any coach anywhere to hear, that your emotions have to be opposite the moment. And you watched the two opposing coaches, head coaches last Saturday, and you tell me which one controlled themselves, lived in the moment, and controlled their emotion to be opposite of what was going on the field.
It'd be Mike Elko.
And it's not even close. Shane Beamer was running onto the field in the first half to complain to the referees. He's out past the numbers multiple times. You ever see Mike Elko do that?
No.
One of those two is closing in on his 20th career win at his school in the second season. Just signed a massive contract extension. Has his team on the verge of the playoffs for the first time in school history. The other one, after having a miraculous run toward the end of last year, is right back on the hot seat.
I'd be shocked if they didn't fire him at the end of the year.
I don't know how you can keep him after that.
Yeah.
I do know how.
I honestly
the contract and the pool of coaching candidates that you would be picking from this offseason, you'd be doing it late in the cycle when everybody else has gotten a leg up on you already. There are reasons why you wouldn't, but if this was a vacuum and you were just be able to keep the guy on the job or fire him based off performance, they'd fire him.
If this were a vacuum, he would have been fired on Sunday morning.
Exactly.
Yeah, you would already been out of a job. But you do make a good point, and I think it's going to scare off a lot of schools, not just South Carolina's. This current coaching carousel, this cycle, is insane. It's outrageous. I don't know who the schools like South Carolina and their ilk are going to be able to get when so many other bigger brands and schools with more pull, haves versus have-nots, are also in the market for a new head coach.
I forget that UCLA is even in the market.
Yeah, UCLA is a big one.
But there's been so many come open that you forget that there's these elite jobs that are open, and then you have this tier of Arkansas, UCLA. If South Carolina were open,
South Carolina would be beneath that.
I think so too, and maybe Arkansas would, but UCLA wouldn't. What's so appealing about going out there? Just living in Southern California?
I think UCLA.
No offense to your Dodgers, but that's getting less appealing by the day.
Especially with all the drama going on with them right now. Have you been paying attention to that at all? They're trying to play their home games next year at SoFi.
Yeah,
but they've got a contract with the Rose Bowl, and now we've got lawyers involved. Well, and why would you want to go play at SoFi just so you can have essentially the Southern California equivalent to Temple playing at the Link?
Lawyers getting involved in college football right now just seems to be standard operating procedure.
For sure. But over a stadium contract, this is a new one.
Let's go back to the question: is when did you start to believe that this thing was going to be this? There was a reality to be had here.
From a fan's perspective and just watching the game, when Ashton Bethel-Roman made that insane full extension catch in the end zone, made it a 2-score game. It was about midway through the third quarter. It's like, oh, not only is A&M cut the deficit in half, or more than half, right there down 27, that took it to a 13-point hole. They've got all of the momentum on their side. They've got the better head coach on their side. And, the clock is now no longer a real factor. You know you're going to get the ball 4 or 5 more times after that touchdown.
I think
that's when I thought it could truly be had.
That was the launching point of hope for a lot of people in the stadium, and you could feel it, was the Ashton Bethel-Roman catch. But the 4th down and 12.
Oh, it's the biggest play of the year. And I think it goes completely unnoticed or might be forgotten by a lot of casual fans just because it's a run play. It didn't actually really produce any points. But very next play throws the wheel route to Isaiah Williams for a touchdown, which, by the way, comes out of nowhere. By the way, a huge impact.
A 4th down conversion of Terry Bussey.
Yeah.
That was not an easy catch.
The only catch he had of the game. And they immediately did a film breakdown of that on the TV broadcast. It's a great route by Terry Bussey to correct his route and find more open space. It was fantastic. Great job by number 2.
If Marcel was able to get him a better ball, he might have catch and run that for a while. I'm still a believer that Terry Bussey is going to make a huge play to impact this season sometime, at some point. I'm a believer in the kid. I'm a believer in his story. I'm a believer in an East Texas high school legend. He's going to have a huge impact on the remainder of this season.
4th and 12, though, to go back to that, we talk about that play for a long time, but it might not have even been it's definitely not top 2 best play Marcel made in that game. I have an argument that it's not even top 5 best play he made in that game.
You'd have to put it in the top 5.
That throw he made to ABR in the end zone is fantastic. The throw he made to KC.
Which one?
The one that set up the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
That's
the
an
first
insane
drive throw. The first drive throw to KC.
That was his best throw of the year.
I think so, too. That was in between. It was like kind of a hold shot between the corner and safety.
Stephen McGee, who knows a lot more about football than all three of us combined, said that the throw to set up the game-winning touchdown was the best throw he's ever seen Marcel make.
I mean, it was incredible because he got it over this curl defender that was trying to get back underneath it, and he was able to get it up and down over him. And from where I was sitting, I couldn't tell if KC stayed in bounds, and then you look at the replay, he's very much in bounds. But for me, the moment that I thought that they're doing this was the fourth down stop.
Oh, the 4th and 1?
Yes.
That was a great play. They blew it up, right? And the running back had nowhere to go.
Right.
And he runs right into literally a barrier, 2 guys on top of each other, nowhere to go. Damian Sanford comes in to clean it up. Brilliant stuff.
Well, I was sitting essentially even with the goal line on the south end zone. So South Carolina is going away from me in that drive.
Yeah.
And all I could see from where I was sitting was that the running back lunged late. And it looked like he was on a pile. I'm going, of course. Like, we have it stopped. A&M has it stopped.
And he lunges and
gets it.
But he
lunges and gets it.
But the pile was 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
It's what I couldn't tell is that the pile was so far on the South Carolina side of the line of scrimmage that he wasn't even close.
Olin wrote about that play today in his column, highlighting Tyler Onyedum, who made that play.
Yes.
He made that play. Damian Sanford and him combined for the TFL there, but T.O.'s the guy who caused the pile, and the pile is what made the play.
Yeah, Kay, was there a moment that's maybe different than what we've talked about where you had an inkling that this was going to be a reality?
I mean, you guys said all of it, but I would go back to the 4th and 12 just because that was the game. If they don't convert on that 4th and 12, it's over. It's essentially over.
Yeah, you're going to run out of possessions.
Yeah, there's not enough possessions left in the game.
That are the game, right? What if South Carolina, that last takeaway right before the break, they actually try and score a touchdown instead of just settle for the field goal? What if they just kick the field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 1? There's so many moments that were the game, and 4th and 12, as great of a play as it was, and it's absolutely in Marcel's top 10 most important plays of his life, it gets glossed over and forgotten because there's so many other amazing plays that they made that they have to win the game.
Yeah, and I didn't feel comfortable. Obviously, the debacle that was the call down at the goal line that led to the final turnover where you're going, man, even if the ball, okay, bad call, but if the ball's fumbled out of bounds, you're going to try a short field goal. Actually, you're going to run another play, right? Because that was 2nd down. Am I right? Or was that 3rd down?
Which one?
The fumble.
The fumble on the touch, like third and goal at the 1.
It was 3rd and goal?
Yeah, it was 3rd and goal at the 1. You had 2 plays to get 1 yard.
So even if the ball goes out of bounds, you're going to kick the field goal, right? You'll go up 34-30, assuming Randy Bond doesn't have an inside the 20 miss again, which that was another just head-scratching moment of the first half. But it stays in bounds, and South Carolina gets it, and you're going, okay, we got to hold on now. Like this, you had a chance to put the game away where you felt like South Carolina sure wasn't going to go down the field, score, and they could only get a 2-point conversion to tie it and keep the game moving on. But it stays in bounds, and they recover it, and you're going, man, their kicker's been pretty good today. How far does he need to get? They convert 1 4th down, and then Cassius Howell, who has named a finalist for the Lombardi Award today, made a play that the defensive MVP of the Southeastern Conference would make.
Yes.
And he's got a legit shot at capturing that crown.
That's an insane play. You're talking about the one on 4th and 12?
Yeah, the game winner.
The game winner. He had a sack on the play before.
Yes.
His first sack of the game, his only sack of the game, improved his SEC leading total to 11.5 on the year. And then the athleticism to drop a defensive end into coverage and to allow him to run down one of the better running quarterbacks in this league to clinch a win. It's ridiculous. It's insane, the athleticism he shows us week in and week out. If Cassius Howell is not the Lombardi Award winner, I don't know why we continue to give it out.
The guys that are going to have arguments are David Bailey at Texas Tech. Lombardi is for their best front seven player, right?
Yes.
Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech will be in there, and he may win it.
I think both of those kids are named finalists as well.
They would have to be up there, and then maybe, is it Ruben Bain?
I don't know how many finalists they have. I think they only have 3 finalists.
Hey, Cade, once you get done working and moving these cameras around, can you hit us with a little bit of AC? It's a little balmy in here, if you know what I mean. So, South Carolina chokes on their chickens. They lose 31-30 at Texas A&M. And you have a Samford team coming to town that is 1-10 in the FCS, as Richard mentioned earlier. After the game, I was getting some interesting texts from people that I like, from people that I consider dear friends. I got one from my father-in-law, just wanting to talk about, man, that was ugly. I hope we learned from that. Man, I can't believe we played. And to one of them, a guy, like I said, is a friend of mine, very good friend of mine, who I respect immensely. I responded with, shut up, dude. Like, I don't want to hear that. Call it what it was. You can say it was an ugly first half, but that's a historical comeback to secure a historical win that sets you up in the playoffs for the first time in school history. That's what it is. Would you have rather been on the other end where you're up 30 or 20 to 27 points at halftime? Yeah, you bet your bottom dollar. But it didn't work out that way. And this team has continued to prove that no matter the situation that you put them in, they're able to adapt and they can win the football game.
It's all that matters, dude.
I didn't say win a beauty contest.
And
I said, can they win a football game?
You said it right there. They're not beauty contests. They don't ask how, they ask how many. And to get in the college football playoff out of the Southeastern Conference, we believe the number to be 10. You get to 10 wins in this league, and you are in the playoff. And if you get into the playoff, you have a chance to do what? Win a national title. So it doesn't matter how they won, the style of play, whatever. All that matters is that they won. The win column shows 10 for the first time since 2012. They are 10-0 for just the 5th time ever. Enjoy it, man. Stop being worried about what's gonna happen. Because here's the other thing I'll tell you. It's the last style of game that Texas A&M needed to show they're capable of pulling off. They have been in shootouts. They have been in dogfights defensively. They have been able to blow teams out. They've been able to do it on the ground. They've been able to do it through the air. They've been able to do it with their defense. What they needed to show you is that they can come back from any amount of deficit, and they just pulled off, as you said, a historic comeback. They can win any style of game against any opponent.
There is something to be said that if they were playing a more capable team, that they would not have come back. Yeah, I agree with you. But in this league, and you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds, and by the way, South Carolina wasn't getting just mopped every week. They were highly competitive. They gave up a late lead to Alabama.
One-score game to the Tide.
They could have won that game late. Who else? They played Ole Miss pretty tight. It was a sloppy game. Played them pretty tight on the road in Oxford. They're not getting their doors blown off. So is it inconceivable that a team with an NFL talent at quarterback, although he's got to get better as a thrower, but the raw talent, the raw traits are there, the biggest freak show walking around college football at receiver, who I'd like to see the GPS numbers on his 80-yard catch and run, Nick Harbor.
How about a first-rounder on the defensive line?
A freak show at defensive end. Like, they've got real talent. They've got real players, and that's one thing Shane Beamer has done. He has politicked his way into some good recruiting class.
I think the recruits like his video singing the Justin Bieber song or whatever it was.
You know, maybe that's why the trooper was so mad at Nicholas Harbor when he went up the tunnel, was that he was speeding. Have we thought about that?
You do make some good points.
By the way, we're not going to go into individuals in our top 5. Well, I guess we can, but it's typically reserved for teams. I'm not going to pile on the guy because he was taken off of his duty. But he crossed the line, and he's a buffoon, and he deserved to be reprimanded in that moment, and that's not something you can ever, ever, ever do. Completely cross the line, and I'm glad that it was handled immediately.
I think there's a reprimand coming for the yell leader that took a swipe at the ball, too.
There should be. At no point should you ever address the other team's players when you are in an official position. If you're a fan and you chirp them, whatever. But I'm a believer like I don't even do it in my summer ball games. I don't talk to the other players unless it's just chatting them up about stuff that they've got going on, the game. But like, you don't negatively chirp another team, and especially you do not touch them in any way. Physical, like he crossed the line. And I think he probably is a heat of the moment thing. He was probably mad. I would imagine he's an A&M fan, and he got fired up about the way things were going, and he let his emotion get the best of him. Now he's learning the lesson, and he should learn the lesson. And if a yell eater did the same thing, then he should be reprimanded as well. You have to set a hard line at this. And I don't care if Nicholas Harbor, which I don't think he did, I don't care if he ran up the tunnel cussing Texas A&M. You still don't do that. They're kids. And they're in uniform, and they're representing another university. You are a 40-year-old, 50-year-old professional in uniform. You can't act like the kids.
Yep.
So again, Mike Elko's speech could go for a lot of things outside of coaching too, huh?
Yes.
I got to have emotion opposite the moment.
Mike Elko's a pretty wise guy.
Smarter than you and I.
Duh.
Anyway, so what do you think is going to happen tonight? There have been some people, albeit very few. I will say I have seen a lot more praise for Texas A&M coming out of the college football media space than I have criticism after Saturday's win. There's been a guy, I like Brandon Walker a lot. He is standing on the table to move A&M down because of that first half. I wonder how much of that he believes and how much of that is kind of going into a bit. But you can look at the other side of this. Fine. As a homer, I'm going to look at, they showed us something that they haven't. Ohio State hadn't had to climb out of that hole yet. How are they going to respond if they ever get put in it?
Yeah.
You can say that Indiana has, but Indiana was down to score. They weren't down 27. How many teams?
They're down just one touchdown in that game.
How many teams have had to do what A&M's done? And it'll be interesting to hear at least one of the talking heads that has been surrounding the College Football Playoff Committee espouse her thoughts on how she views Texas A&M a week after pumping up her alma mater for a comeback win at Penn State. We'll see how she verbalizes what happened to A&M and what A&M did on Saturday.
Indiana was only down 4 points, but that's because they blew a 17-point lead. Or 13-point lead, excuse me.
So, again, how many teams in the top 12, top 15? First of all, we know that nobody's done 27. How many teams in the top 15 have done multi-score comebacks this year? That's something that we could probably look up.
Indiana's second-half drive chart in that game was field goal, punt, interception, punt, touchdown. So congratulations on your second half.
That's why turnover. I believe that it has done – all it did was shine more of a light on Texas A&M than it should have caused doubt, but we'll see how the playoff committee views that.
In no world should Texas A&M move behind Georgia. That's an argument a lot of people are making. I know Georgia looked damn impressive on Saturday night, taking down Texas. That 21-point fourth quarter was very, very impressive out of the Bulldogs, and I believe that Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns have a Kirby Smart problem. That was an incredible display by Gunnar Stockton. The red and black, they look every bit as a team that could win the national championship, but there's only 3 teams that are still undefeated. They all hail from the 2 best conferences in college football. If you are unbeaten at this point in the season, and you are from the Big Ten and the SEC, you do not move behind a team that has a loss unless they have a head-to-head win. They wouldn't have a head-to-head win over you because you're still unbeaten. There's no reason Texas A&M should be any lower than 3 tonight.
If you are ranking the teams in college football on how they performed over the last 2 weeks, Georgia's number 1.
Yeah, sure.
And they're playing their best football seemingly at the right time as we head into the late part of November. They have the best coach in college football. They have one of the best rosters in college football. They have players stepping up. They're starting to figure out how to rush the passer a little bit. Georgia's dangerous. They'll always be dangerous with Kirby Smart at the helm, but this version of Georgia is becoming more and more dangerous by the week. That being said, we're not ranking teams off the last 2 weeks of the season. This is an 14, 13-week deal here.
You're looking at the body of work, and the other thing that people are trying they are desperately trying to hold it against Texas A&M, is this claim that they're playing a weak conference schedule because they somehow, by the grace of God, have, 7 of the bottom 8 in conference on their schedule. Did you know that Texas A&M's strength of schedule still ranks significantly higher over Ohio State and Indiana at this juncture in the season? I bet you didn't, but I did because I did the research for a story that will likely come out tonight.
Well, the Sagarin ratings had with A&M at 8 of their opponents in the top 40, which I think the next closest was 6. So
it's such a lazy argument.
But here's what happens in this in the SEC, the price of admission to get in the club is a lot more expensive than it is anywhere else, right?
Sure.
There is more talent walking around those sidelines than anywhere else in the country. And so on any given Saturday, you can get into one of these things. Let's not forget, how many close games has Alabama played?
A boatload.
Within a score of Vanderbilt, correct? Until very, very late. Within a score against Missouri. Within a score against South Carolina. And until last week, until Oklahoma went in there and won, which we'll talk about that in a minute, everybody was anointing Bama, and Josh Pate, who we're Giant fans of, still believes they're going to win the national championship. So they're 2 breaks away from being in a worse predicament than they are, from being completely out of the discussion. That's what happens when you play in this league. And I think Texas is starting to understand that a little bit more this year, where they have played some really fine margins and could have 5 losses right now instead of 3 if you look at Kentucky and Mississippi State. But you don't apologize for them. Like, A&M shouldn't apologize. A&M fans shouldn't go, oh yeah, I'm super worried because we gave up 30.5. Like, out of everything you've seen this season, that's the outlier. And you know that it can happen in this league because the opposing teams, every one of them, I would say Kentucky and Mississippi State right now, but even Mississippi State's played close games. But Kentucky and Mississippi State and Arkansas would have, you look across the field and you go, we have significantly more talent than they do. But that's about it.
What does Arkansas do against Northwestern? What does Arkansas do against Purdue? What does Arkansas do against Rutgers or Maryland? How about Michigan State?
And Arkansas and South Carolina both have guys playing quarterback who are freak show athletes.
Yes.
So if you catch them on the right day, and on the record, Lenora Sellers threw some dimes. Some of the best throws I've seen Lenora Sellers make all season happened in that game on Saturday. The go ball down the far sideline or the South Carolina sideline was a great throw for a touchdown. The 4th and 8 conversion to Nicholas Harbor on the sideline where he layered that throw between the safety and the corner, incredible. Lenora Sellers made some huge throws, and he can do that because he's a freak athlete. We saw what Taylon Green can do. Taylon Green's got no help around him, 0. And that guy at one point was leading the country in total offense per game. So even the bottom rosters have NFL players on them, but especially when you start getting from team this year, because there's a part of me thinks that the whole sport of college football is actually leveling out. It's flattening. Everybody is close to each other thanks to the transfer portal, extended eligibility, and all that. But even so, this year in the SEC, when you go from Team 1, Texas A&M, and where is Missouri in the league standings? Where is LSU in the league standings? These are teams with real players, like legit talent.
Remember the argument Pate made for Oregon's best win, right? Oregon's best win is still at Penn State in the whiteout conditions because what did they do? They killed that Penn State team.
Yes.
Texas A&M, you have to make the same argument for Texas A&M against LSU.
Yeah, you can't say...
They killed them. They destroyed the state. That was a top 15 team at the time that was playing for its playoff lives that Marcel Reed went in and obliterated.
You can't use the argument when you talk about A&M beating LSU. You can't say, well, they fired their head coach. Why did they fire their head coach? If Texas A&M beats LSU 21-18 that night, Brian Kelly ain't fired.
Nope.
They fired Brian Kelly because A&M went in there and embarrassed them in front of the country and emptied their stadium, and they could not deal with that. They could not deal with the embarrassment, so they made a move the next day. So that's actually a feather in A&M's cap, where you're trying to use it as a way to cut their legs down and cut their stature down. It's actually a giant feather in their hat. So the schedule argument is very interesting. Also, before the season started, lest we forget, that this A&M schedule was filled with a lot of potholes, a lot of hurdles, right? Notre Dame, Florida, Auburn.
The trip to Fayetteville. First time since 2013.
Yeah, I wouldn't put them in that, but I would say that
motorcycle night? You weren't worried about motorcycle night?
We didn't know it was going to be motorcycle night in August.
Worried about motorcycle night.
But you look at Missouri.
Yeah.
All these LSU, you looked at all these games on the A&M schedule going, man, LSU is the number one portal class. Look how much NFL talent's on Florida's roster.
You looked at the schedule at the beginning of the year and knew, or at least thought, your 3 toughest games were all going to be away from Kyle Field in South Bend, Baton Rouge, and Austin.
Yeah, and by the way, the preseason number 1 is on your schedule too. So it's funny how the schedule argument has morphed as the season's gone on, and you've realized that Texas A&M is better than all these other teams. And so now the schedule stinks. But in August, you would have never said that.
A reminder that Texas isn't underachieving because based on their thoughts inside the program, they're underachieving because the writers voted them number 1 preseason. That's what Mr. Steve had to say earlier this week.
Yeah, I did. He's had some very interesting sound bites this year, going all the way back to the faces that we make in the bathroom, the scheduling complaints.
Faces do you make in the bathroom?
Well, you want me to record myself? We could run it on Thunderdome Thursday.
As long as we don't have to smell it.
Smell-o-vision would not, yeah.
Smell-o-vision?
At some point, that's going to happen. All right, we've got to talk coaching carousel here. We spent a lot of time on that A&M South Carolina game. And I really, again, you just keep winning and it'll all work out, but I'll be a little mortified if A&M has fallen behind Georgia tonight.
I'd be shocked. I'd be pissed. I will be pissed.
Our Top 5 Tuesday, by the way, again, we'll get to our college football winners and losers, but as we get you, the listeners, some time to maybe mull it over in your head, I've got the top 5 most aesthetically pleasing plays in sports. I think we are going to get a wide variety of answers here, and it should be fun, and it will give you some insights to what we really enjoy when we sit down and watch certain sporting events. But we got to get to this coaching carousel stuff. Virginia Tech has hired James Franklin. Sounds to me like, just the calls that I've been on, some of the texts that I've gotten this week, sounds like James Franklin maybe played Arkansas a little bit to get what he wanted out of Virginia Tech. That's the way this business goes. No shame if you're Arkansas. You shot for a big fish and you came up a little bit short. I think this is an incredible hire for a Virginia Tech program that needs some stability.
Oh, yeah.
And, it wasn't too long ago that Shane Beamer's dad was roaming the sidelines and never acted that way.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
It's 2 losses in the same week for poor little Shane.
I don't think he was ever going to leave for Virginia Tech. And again, this is a question I would ask is do you want to follow, if your dad's the legacy coach at one school, do you want to follow his footsteps? If he's going to have a statue built of him, do you want to coach?
Would you rather follow in your dad's footsteps or just be another coach they run out of Columbia, South Carolina? Unceremoniously.
You're going to pay my buyout? Then yeah, you can run me out of town.
Take the buyout.
But I would say that for Virginia Tech, this immediately gives them some legitimacy, both in the transfer portal, on the recruiting trail.
Absolutely. I think he's still a good coach.
And it gives them legitimacy in the ACC, a conference that is struggling for somebody to take a hold of it right now. With Florida State in flux and daboing to the nth of the Dabo degree.
Is he daboing?
Something like that. I mean, he's doing the coaching equivalent of dabbing for an entire season. A great win by this weekend, by the way.
Great
Call
win.
Dad on the B team. And look at Cade. Yeah, Cade, why don't you flip that camera when you do the dance moves, dude? We're trying to get you.
Sorry, dude.
Ladies, take note. Take note.
Yeah.
Cade, do it.
You should have. He was hitting.
I'm not doing it again.
No. We've lost the moment.
Cade.
But you feel free to flip that camera around when you've got the vibe going like that, dude.
Fair enough. By the way, I'm back now. I finished editing all the content.
You're depriving all of the viewers of your sweet, sweet moves, Cade.
So Virginia Tech and Blacksburg in the ACC, great hire.
Yeah, I love that hire.
Great hire.
I mean, he could succeed there. I think winning in the ACC is significantly easier than winning in the Big Ten week in and week out. The thing for him is he's going to have much better quarterback play in Blacksburg than he had in State College because, man, things got stale at that position. And
it'll be
really
interesting to see how much
back for a number of years.
How much of his staff follows him from Penn State, if any? I would imagine some of them will. And if they are, do they start going and announcing those? Because, I mean, he can't do all that by himself. When he's going to try to flip a roster, he's got to get the NIL on the same page. He's got to have a plan for the portal. He's got to know what his depth chart looks like. He can't do that all by himself. So he's going to have some people come in with him, and I would suspect that at least a few of his coaches from Penn State will be following him. And if that's going to occur, and I'm the administration in Blacksburg, I'm wanting that to happen sooner rather than later. Speaking of something happened sooner rather than later, the Lane Kiffin saga continues, and I can't get straight what exactly has happened. Where has he actually been? Where is he rumored to have been? Has he been in Oxford the whole time? Did he go to Baton Rouge? What members of his family went to Baton Rouge for what reason? I talked to a source in Florida today that was extremely confident that Lane Kiffin himself had been in Gainesville. They had been touring schools for his son to go play at. But all of this, I'm very skeptical because there's too many people that know too much or acting like they know too much, which leads me to believe that nobody really knows anything. And you're also dealing with Lane Kiffin and Jimmy Sexton. So just as wild as the scenario was laid out to me that Lane Kiffin was going to coach that game on Saturday night against Florida, he was going to, and I'm not speaking out of turn here because there were several Florida insiders, media folks posting on Twitter that Sunday was going to be a big day. In their mind, they had gotten a deal done with Lane Kiffin. It was going to be announced the Sunday after Ole Miss played Florida. And then with the intention of Lane Kiffin continuing to coach at Ole Miss for the remainder of the season while working for Florida to recruit for Florida. That is crazy. And it was so outlandish.
I wanted that to happen so bad, dude. Like that, it ruined my Sunday when the day came and went and that news wasn't announced.
Well,
it would have been amazing theater for the rest of the month in Gainesville.
Just when you say it out loud, that is so outlandish to even believe 1 ounce of it. And sure enough, on Sunday, what starts leaking? Not that Lane Kiffin was about to take the job at Florida. It's now that LSU is majorly involved in the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes.
You know how this ends? Do you know how this ends?
Here, before you answer that, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you're the AD at Ole Miss, can you keep him in in Oxford after all this?
Well, I don't think he's going to have the option. But no, obviously, you can't.
I saw that there was some sort of an ultimatum that they gave him.
But they said they didn't have the ultimatum, which means the ultimatum definitely exists. And there's no good... Cade, I'm going to give you some relationship advice, man. No good relationship survives after an ultimatum has been laid down.
Well, and Lane Kiffin went on the McAfee show today and said that the reports about an ultimatum given were completely false. Do you want to believe Lane Kiffin? That's what he said on Pat McAfee today. So take that as you will. Again, you're dealing with a guy. Let's not forget how he left Tennessee. And you're dealing with Jimmy Sexton, an agent who is the best at playing not both sides of the fence. Like he's got an octagonal fence and he can play all 8 sides of it. There's 8 fences intersecting.
Intersecting?
Not intersecting.
Sounds like a illegal operation there. Welcome to the Octagon.
Okay.
It's almost Christmas.
You get what I'm saying here.
Yes.
There's a bunch of different fences. Let me not step over my Southeast Texas tongue again. There are a lot of different fences, and he can be on every side of them. And he's good at it.
Anyways.
And so how do you
how this ends,
decipher truth from fiction here?
Do you know how this ends? It ends with the ultimatum being false, right? No ultimatum truly existed, as Lane said today, which I don't believe. But he gets to stay in Oxford for their playoff run. They're going to win their first round game and get to a quarterfinal, which is going to be played on either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Texas's season is going to be done by then. And Steve Sarkisian's going to head his happy you-know-what to the NFL. So all of this pining in Baton Rouge and Gainesville and Oxford isn't going to matter because it's going to be University of Texas head football coach Lane Kiffin somewhere around the first of the year 2026.
The only issue with that is the signing class for both of those schools and then an impending transfer portal window. That's a lot, dude. That's a lot.
Portal King Lane Kiffin don't care about high school recruiting.
I also believe that because he is Portal King, that evidence of him recruiting players to another school while employed at his current school would come out pretty quickly. We know that's common practice around here. At least we allegedly. But one of them came out and kind of said that he did it.
Who said what?
One of the former coaches here has come out and said that he was recruiting for another school while.
Oh yeah. I forgot. I need to get better at remembering things.
I don't know. Like I'm of the same opinion as you. Is that if I'm Ole Miss, I don't know that I can keep him.
Yeah, but
he's had so many chances, but he's got the leverage over you. Ole Miss as a program has never been in this arena.
Ole Miss head football coach Eli Manning. He played one on that Chad Powers show. Is that the show?
The Texas thing's interesting. Why don't you think that he would go to the New York Football Giants?
Lane Kiffin or Eli Manning?
Lane Kiffin.
Oh, why would anyone want to go to the New York Football Giants?
Because Jackson Dart's a quarterback.
Oh, no.
And you don't have to deal with all this college stuff.
Did you see Cam Scatabo hang out with Hasbulla at the UFC fight?
I also saw him with WWE.
With Abdul Carter, yeah.
It's awesome. Cam Scatabo breaks his leg and starts living the life.
What do we think Lane Kiffin's going to do?
I just told you.
You think he's going to be the next head coach at Texas?
He's going to be the next head football coach.
So
that would actually be the funniest outcome.
You're giving
it wouldn't be the funniest outcome, Cade Bickham. What are you talking about?
I mean, I just think like after the whole saga and after it being like, oh, it's gonna be LSU or Florida. If it ends up being Texas, I just think it would be funny.
The funniest possible outcome is that he just decides to stop coaching, and all of these universities have to hire their version of Charlie Strong.
You're lending a lot of credence
version
to this rumor that Sark is out.
I think he's out. The way he's acting is weird.
I'm going to need to see a lot more substantial evidence, more so than Desmond Howard being a little not super vague. I mean, he was pretty bold about it, but still, I wouldn't consider him a college football insider with that kind of information. Now, from what I understand, both Desmond Howard and Steve Sarkisian share an agency, so maybe he's heard something through the grapevine there. That does give it a little bit more. I think that gives it some more veracity to me than because it's the agent connection. I think that gives a little bit more truth. And then, there's some cryptic message board insiders that have been right about stuff in the past that are hinting at a potential parting of ways with Steve Sarkisian in Texas. I've got no idea. I really have no idea. But if you throw Texas into this coaching carousel, the trickle-down effect becomes even greater. Here's the very interesting thing. Let's just assume, for the purpose of this question or this scenario, that Lane Kiffin's, like Steve Sarkisian's staying at Texas. Let's just assume Texas isn't coming open.
Okay.
The fallback options for LSU, Ole Miss, or Florida, whoever doesn't get Lane Kiffin, I'm fascinated in those fallback options because who have they vetted? If you're going to hang around this Lane Kiffin sweepstakes because the calendar is getting shrunk by the day as we approach early signing period and the transfer portal window, if you don't win the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes, how quickly can you pivot and turn, and how much information and research and vetting have you done of your next tier candidate?
Do you think that the next candidates in that situation, do you think it would be Summerall and then Golish?
Well, remember
Golish,
Golish,
that's the region at least.
We thought when they beat Florida in Gainesville, talking about USF, that he was essentially going to be the next head coach there. But the shine's worn off a ton this weekend, especially.
Yeah, good point.
You don't get to lose to Navy when you're playing for your college football playoff life and remain atop somebody's big board.
Yeah.
Now, if it ends up being a fallback option and one of these schools hires him, as long as they vetted him and the ADs and the administrations think that he could ultimately be their version of Mike Elko, then okay. But you're not going to win if you don't get Lane Kiffin. It doesn't really matter who you hire because you're not going to win the press conference, and I don't think winning the press conference matters. It's so overrated to win the press conference. What would Texas A&M's reaction have been if Mike Elko were the guy and we never did the Stoops oops thing? I think we're kind of excited because he was here before, but I don't think there's nearly as much fanfare as Texas A&M had for its recent hires, football, baseball, and basketball.
Well, thank God for Jimbo Fisher bringing Mike Elko here as a defensive coordinator. Otherwise, is A&M ever in this position?
Good point.
If Mike Elko's never the defensive coordinator here, is he ever the head coach here? That's something to consider. But you mentioned Alex Golesh and his shine coming off. I'm of the opinion that if you're an administrator, you can't make decisions on the future of a head coach based off one game. Alex Golesh has showed that he has built a mid-major program into a winner, and he seems to be about the right stuff. So to me, he's legitimized himself because of the way he handles himself, how he interacts with the game, how he interacts with his players, the ethos of his program. I think all those things would make you believe that he could translate that into a bigger space. And he has been in the SEC. He's been an offensive coordinator at Tennessee. He's seen the league. Like, he's got a lot of stuff that I think checks a lot of boxes. Now, I actually think if you're talking about Alex Golesh, I think he's a much better candidate at Arkansas. But what we're talking about is the next tier of candidates at LSU, Ole Miss, or Florida. I mean, it could be as easy if you're Ole Miss as that you just promote Pete Golding immediately and you try to keep it rolling, kind of like Notre Dame did with Marcus Freeman once Brian Kelly was out. I talked to two different Florida folks today that said they will not hire another G5 coach.
Wow.
They felt like they got burnt with Billy Napier, and they're not going to go back to that well.
I think that's really bad. I think
that's short-sighted.
You're limiting yourself.
Yeah, that's short-sighted for sure. And somebody is going to have to take a chance on a G5 coach.
Sure.
There's just too many openings, and there's not enough legit.
And like you just said, somebody's going to hire a sitting coordinator to be a head football coach somewhere. There's just, like you said, there's too many openings.
I agree. So a name that has come up is John Summerall. Cade mentioned John Summerall with LSU. It'd be funny if that's who LSU ends up hiring. I'm not saying he'd be a bad coach, but considering
taking a coach from Tulane
after what the governor said in front of the microphone the first time, and the onus being on the citizens of Louisiana, and so you're gonna take away from one of your programs in the state, the second biggest program in the state. That's what it goes back to my theory or not my theory, my feeling that everybody in that state will cut their left and right arms off to give to LSU happily.
Remember when you once said, quote, he looks like he could rip your arms off and beat you with them?
Yeah.
That was one of your better quotes.
Yeah, I did describe a high school recruit that way at one point. So
crazy imagery.
And you know what?
Ryan Brauninger.
It's crazy. It's amazing to me the optics of the Penn State job right now. With everything in flux.
Forget about it.
Yeah, with everything in flux, and it's probably because of the area of the country that we live in. But it's just, I don't really care. They're probably going to hire Eli Drinkwitz. I think they should hire Matt Campbell. Like, could you ever say the shine has come off of Matt Campbell? To me, he would have to lose at an amazing rate for multiple years on end at Iowa State.
I don't know if the shine's come off Matt Campbell, but I just feel like I forget about him. Like the splash of a hire it would have been 3 years ago, it's going to be much smaller of a splash.
I'll be interested to see if somebody gives Sean Lewis a shot out of San Diego State. Quietly having a great year with the Aztecs.
What about the guy in North Texas?
If I'm Arkansas, that's who I hire. Now, Alex Golesh could end up being a really quality decision for them. But I'm of the opinion, right now, Alex Golesh, he's in Tampa, Florida. How far does he have to go to put a roster together that could compete at the level that he's playing at? Not very far, right?
No.
If you put that guy in Northwest Arkansas, how far does he have to go to put a roster together to compete in the SEC?
Pretty far.
And does he have the connections in those areas to be able to do that? if you hire Eric Morris, you've got Dallas. You've got real connections in Dallas. And I think if you're the head coach at Arkansas, there's two metroplexes that you're sandwiched between that you don't have to be elite in, but you got to have good evals and go get good players from. It's DFW and it's Kansas City. If you can be functional,
City produces a ton of talent.
and the state of Arkansas doesn't.
Cassius Howe says hello.
But if the state of Arkansas can give you 4 legitimate players a year, 4 or 5 legitimate players a year, you got to get all of them.
Yep.
And then, you're not far from Oklahoma City as well. So these aren't major metropolitan areas outside of DFW, but they're players that house talent that can help you get closer to competing in the league. Alex Golish, again, I'm not saying he can't. I just think there's more upside with Eric Morris. If you can just swallow your pride of hiring another Morris if you're in Fayetteville.
And you shouldn't limit yourself
Right.
based on last name.
I don't think Florida should limit themselves because they were burnt by a G5 coach in the last cycle.
Yeah, it'd be insanely silly, especially with the market the way it is right now. Because you're either going to get Lane Kiffin, he's going to tell you no. Who else are you going to pull? Would your fan base be okay with Eli Drinkwitz after the back and forth they had with Dan Mullen? I don't know. So you're going to limit yourself, no group of 5, so it has to be a sitting Power 5 head coach or a coordinator somewhere?
Or
Coordinator is a wildly more risky hire than a G5 head coach.
I'm interested in is Glenn Schumann at Georgia. Because you remember who Kirby's DC was before Glenn Schumann?
You tell me.
Dan Lanning.
Huh.
Worked out pretty well for Oregon.
Decent.
Oregon rolled the dice and took a sitting coordinator. I don't know if Glenn Schumann's made of the right stuff to be a head coach. He may be on a Peter principle thing where he's risen to his highest capable position and he's fine staying there. But it's, you talk about coordinators, how many legit coordinators or how many coordinators do you hear come up with these P4 jobs? Oh, he needs some more
My batteries died.
Okay. Sub pit crew
again on the show.
So, all right, let's get into our college football winners and losers. We'll let Cade come in here and bring Richard these batteries because we'll get Cade's inputs, but healthy discussion here and a lot. As fun as this is for Texas A&M fans.
Come show these people your glasses.
Yeah,
look at those. Look at Cade Bickham's glasses.
Did you just hit him with a John Cena? Did you just can't see? Oh, no, I thought you hit him with a can't see me.
All right, I'm back.
All right, Cade, get on the mic. We got to do our top 5s. But as fun as this season has been for A&M fans, it's wildly enthralling and encapsulating or captivating, excuse me, for the, if you're an A&M fan, but just a college football fan. Like there's so much kind of teetering on the edge. We've had some stones kicked over the ledge with LSU and Florida and Arkansas and UCLA and Penn State. How all those things how the cards fall and where everything lands is going to be super, super interesting, especially like I brought it up a couple times now, considering the calendar and what's forthcoming. You've got to be prudent with these decisions, and you've got the brevity to make these decisions has got to be it can't be more important than the actual hire. Like the actual human that you get to man these positions is the most important thing. But boy, timeliness would be a giant cherry on top, wouldn't it?
Yes.
All things considered.
Absolutely.
All right. Top 5 winners and losers from last week in college football. We all have them in order, but if we talk about one, we will all talk about them at the same time. Richard brought up this team, which is my number 5, the Navy Midshipmen.
Oh, we're starting with losers?
No, these are winners.
Oh, these are winners.
Navy won.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot because they lost the 2 weeks before, yeah.
They beat South Florida. I do not think Navy is a legit contender for that G5 spot, but it's not out of the realm. Like they're still hanging around, and they knocked the favorite from its perch in the American. So I let's reward. The interesting thing about Navy is, do you know when their final game is scheduled in terms of how it would fall in the college football calendar?
I do. It's after the conference championship.
Yeah.
Because they got to play Army. And so they would play a game after they're in the field of 12.
That's crazy.
Well, they're not going to be in the field of 12.
I know, but I got Navy at 5.
At 5, I didn't go with the team. I went with the Indiana and Big Ten gatekeepers on Twitter. Congratulations, you guys, on Texas A&M's 1-point win and validating Fernando Mendoza's Heisman moment the week before. hats off to you guys. Enjoy running through my mentions for another couple of days.
We're going to talk Heisman tomorrow.
Just for the record, guys, I think Marcel Reed's heroics versus South Carolina, way more heroic than Fernando Mendoza's one drive, but I'm a little biased.
The numbers would extrapolate that out as well.
Well, they don't like numbers. They just realized that football's a thing 3 years ago, so they're watching this sport until things get truly underway at Assembly Hall.
Cade?
Troglodytes.
Full disclosure, I have not prepped. I prepped the last top 5. I didn't prep these 2. I've been pretty busy this afternoon, but
then don't worry about it. We'll get to you when we get to the final one then.
Yeah, that's cool. I will say that I just do want to give an honorable mention to Sam Houston because they won their 2nd straight game this weekend.
All right.
Woo Bearcats.
All right. Cade Bickham, he's always bringing the heat. Dynamite.
Number 4 for me, the USC Trojans.
4 on my list, too.
That was everything about that game when you looked at the elements, how it was going to have to be played. That said Iowa football. And USC out-Iowa'd Iowa, and they won the game. That's twice now that I think a Lincoln Riley coach team has shown some backbone, some spine, and some toughness elements to his previous teams that have eluded him. And when they beat Michigan and then this win over Iowa, I thought that showed a lot for USC. And I think they are more complete than maybe we had previously given them credit for.
Yeah, I had them at 4 as well. There are only 4 ranked versus ranked games this week. If you win one of those, you deserve to be on the winners.
Number 3 for me was Texas A&M. And it would have gone higher. The argument for them to be higher is that it's what we talked about earlier, the historic comeback to essentially kick down the playoff door for the first time in school history. An enormous win, but you have to factor in of why it was a huge comeback because they played the worst half of football that they could possibly play. But still, for you to overcome that adversity, to put another mark of confidence for your team, another notch in the we can do it all belt. Yeah, I think you have to put them on the top 5 winners list.
At 3 on my list, I've got the Oklahoma Sooners. Kind of the similar reasons why I had USC at 4. They won a ranked versus ranked game. But for Oklahoma, not only did they stay alive like USC did in the college football playoff discussion, Oklahoma's got a much clearer path than the Trojans do right now. And remember where we were at talking about the Sooners and Brent Venables after they lost the Red River game, completely changed the course of their season over the last few weeks. I think they could get into the college football playoff. My last thing about OU is go look at that. How bad did we really get beat and see how Alabama outgained them like 2 yards to 1, but they turned the ball over 3 times, and that's why John Mateer and company left T-Town with the dub.
You talk about crazy drive charts.
Bad.
Oklahoma's scoring drives. But because of all the things that you said, and they went into Bryant-Denny and won, Oklahoma was number 1 on my list. I thought the Sooners made the best account of themselves of anybody in college football, given the circumstances. I didn't say they played the best, but they went into a very tough place to win. They came out victorious, and now they went from a fringe college football playoff team to when you start seeing these brackets tonight, they are going to be in.
That did move the college football needle probably the most out of any of the games this weekend. I would say for my 3, I would say not A&M, but second half A&M because I think first half A&M would be on my losers list.
Yeah, if you were just second half A&M, you'd probably go 1.
Yeah.
But you're trying to balance it all out, so I thought 3 was a fair spot.
I'll put Oklahoma at 2 though. I think I would put Georgia at 1 this week.
Well, I got Georgia at 2, and so I thought whenever we were making these lists that we would have some combination of Georgia and Oklahoma at 1 and 2. Richard had Oklahoma at 3, so I'm guessing he's got A&M.
A&M's not on my top 5.
Okay,
I've got Notre Dame at 2.
Oh. Good choice.
Again?
Well, hold on.
It is a good choice. What do you mean?
Hold on. Now, it's your decision and your opinion, and you can have it. But let me play devil's advocate here. I don't know that I can consider Notre Dame a top 5 winner in college football when the opposing counsel across from them on Saturday said, I don't care if we lose by 100.
You can't You
Every
can't
week's
fault
a must
Notre
win
Dame
for
for
them, though.
Pat Narduzzi talking out of the side of his neck. Not their fault. They won a ranked versus ranked game on the road.
was
Looked pretty
never competitive,
dominant
yeah.
doing it. Jeremiah Love's the best running back in the country.
Ooh, I could argue that.
Okay.
He might be the best player in the country.
He might be the best player in the country.
We're talking Heisman tomorrow. Don't let me forget.
He
We're
should
talking
get
Heisman
some
tomorrow.
Heisman votes, I think. But yeah, barring a massive upset over the next 2 weeks, at 8-2, the Irish are going to get to 10-2 because Stanford and Syracuse are combined 6-14. The Irish into the playoff. That was their last real test. Big winners, big time winners, huge. People might even say you're going to get tired of winning. Brauny.
2 for me was Georgia. As I mentioned, they look like the best team in college football over the last 2 weeks. And if this is what Georgia is going to be going forward, they are going to be real tough to beat. And Gunnar Stockton, I tweeted it on Saturday night, guy reminds me of Baker Mayfield. And he didn't at the beginning of the season. It was more like Tim Tebow, like just gritty, tough runner, makes an occasional throw. He's starting to make real throws now. He's got more confident. I think Mike Bobo's calling a better offense. You saw him get creative in some of their short yardage stuff the other night against Texas. They blew Texas out. And it was really that 5-minute spell in the fourth quarter where they just the game was still up in the air.
Well, and I'll say this, Brownie. I said last week when we were picking games, I said I'll take Georgia in the points because Kirby owns Sark. And what happened? Kirby owned Sark once again with that onside kick call that they were allegedly prepared for.
It's another crazy thing Sark has said.
You weren't prepared for it.
He's
or else
got
you would have recovered.
He's got his Rolodex of excuses this year.
If you were prepared for the surprise onside kick, your entire front line wouldn't be moving backwards.
So I think we talked about all the teams. One was Oklahoma for me.
I had one at Georgia. Georgia was my one. I mean, that was glorious. I just the camera shots of Jeff Banks were.
Oh, the camera knew where he was, especially after that onside kick.
Yeah, they were.
It's funny how our Saturdays turned around, right? Because at 12:30 in the afternoon, you were going, "Uh-oh, we haven't had a real bad day of college football all year, and we could be on the verge of having one." And it flipped to something glorious that we could have never imagined.
All those jabronis sitting at those bars in Athens, especially the ones that traveled to be there.
And
their day of college football.
You can tell how much pent up tweet rage that they had that the Texas fan base had. They all had opinions in the first half of the A&M game. They couldn't wait to get them out. We've been holding on to them all year. Finally, the Aggies give us a chance to unleash these Twitter thumbs and hit post and hit post and hit post. No way are they going to come back from this. South Carolina can't blow a 27-point lead. We're going to get juiced up at the bar. We're going to get ready to watch Texas take on Georgia. The Horns are playing better. We're back in the playoff picture. A&M's going down.
What happened next, nerds?
What a difference about 8 hours makes. All right, our top 5 college football losers. Speaking of that fan base in Austin, Texas is number 5. There's no sin in losing at Georgia.
I've got them at 2.
But there is sin to get blown out at Georgia and really hurt your resume, where they were talking about you as a potential playoff team, even with 3 losses. I think that went out the window on Saturday night.
It's outrageous. But it didn't go out the window on Saturday because Heather Forehead Dinich is still talking about them as a 3-loss team that could make the playoff. I think that is ridiculous. In no way, shape, or form does a 3-loss team that has a loss to a bad Florida team, should
really
they ever garner any sort of college football playoff anything right now.
She doesn't watch the game. She watches the logos.
Watch anything.
She watches the logos
got her
and
marching
that's it.
orders from ESPN is what she did.
She's an Indiana grad, so she's got that homer. If Indiana wasn't in this, she would still be talking about the same team she's talking about, right? But you just added Indiana in there because she went to school there. But they're watching logos. They're not watching games.
They're going to drop below 15 tonight, I'd imagine, in that 17 to 20 range after losing in that sort of fashion on the road. Pretty bad. So they're completely out. I had them at 2 on my list, and I just love Steve Sarkisian just saying weird things on his way out the door. I hope he enjoys Nashville, though.
Who was your 5?
My 5 is Cincinnati. They're a ranked team, kind of flirting around, maybe trying to get into the Big Ten championship for a chance.
Big 12.
Yeah, the Big 12 championship. Try to get into the college football playoff. Like you said, fool's gold, but now it's completely over. You can't lose at home to Arizona and not be a loser.
We didn't know it when we were watching it, but the indicator that they were fool's gold should have been when they lost to Nebraska in week 0.
Yeah, I think they probably pissed away a chance to host game day this week.
Hey, Brauny, you called it on Noah Fafita as well.
I did. That was another one. I think, I mean, I have to go back and do my record for the year, but I feel like I've been pretty good. Kay, do you want to chime in here? Or
I'll chime in a little bit. I guess I would put, South Florida would be on my list.
South Florida's
somewhere.
on my list.
Yeah.
Yep.
South Florida's 1 on my list.
Wow, 1 on your list. Ooh.
Well, think about what they had at stake,
yes,
right?
that's a good point. Yeah.
They had to win. They were still one of the favorites to get into the college football playoff as the group of 5 pick. They had they lost the most by losing their game this week.
James Madison's a winner, and they didn't even play this weekend.
James Madison and North Texas.
Yeah.
So I had South Florida at 3. All good points made by the crew here. 4 for me was Alabama.
Yeah.
I had Alabama at 3 on my list. Florida at 4.
Florida?
You lost the game, and the whole Lane Kiffin thing is real weird. I don't think you're going to get him.
I think Florida fans were pumped that they lost. You go in there and beat Lane Kiffin. That's going to make your argument like it's going to be hard to celebrate that.
Well, yeah, but now Lane Kiffin might not
come.
You lost the game, and you might lose the coach.
You might.
Yeah, twofer.
3, I mentioned South. Who's your 3?
Bama.
We talked about
My
Bama.
3, I will put A&M in the first half.
Okay. Number 2 for me, you said South Florida had everything to lose. How about Louisville?
Oh, good call.
Yeah, Louisville should be on my list, but I've overlooked them.
Dabo was running around that sideline he looked like a youth pastor. He couldn't wait to get in front of his congregation. He was smiling. He's yucking it up. I mean, it was so Dabo.
I got a question for you. You think Dabo and Olin get along?
No.
On certain topics, yes.
What are those topics,
Yes,
Brauny?
that's correct.
I just said on certain topics. I don't need to get specific. But that's an awful loss for Louisville. They're done.
Yeah, they are. They are.
But you know what? Clemson's like a lot of the teams in the SEC that are struggling this year. Clemson's a talented roster. They got potential 3 first-rounders.
Yeah.
A lot of people's preseason Heisman pick at quarterback. Like, that's a talented team that can, if they show up and it's their day, you're going to have a tough time beating them.
Absolutely.
They've had other things go wrong this year that weren't talent related. It could be coaching related. We'll see. But I think Louisville was victim of. I think Louisville lost to a team that was better than them, more talented.
Yep.
Stinks. You had everything on the line, but the ACC's got some big issues coming. They need Miami to win. They better win these final 2 weeks. Georgia Tech's their best bet to get 1 in. Yellow Jackets, especially if they can beat Georgia. Well, there's some interesting scenarios if Georgia Tech beats Georgia.
Is the Duke dream dead?
Yeah.
Duke's dream is so dead. They're 5-5.
RIP.
So I had Louisville at 2.
I had Texas at 2 and South Florida at 1.
I would put Texas somewhere in there. Yeah, at 2 probably.
I don't understand how both of you left
you
off.
thought it was going to be unanimous?
Yeah, this South Carolina's 1.
Well, I've railed against him being such a loser for the past few months.
South Carolina is 1, yeah.
That's
the first time that anybody's given up that big of a lead in 20 years.
You know what we should have done? The
SEC?
opening intro to the show every day this week, Cade, should have been Beamer walking into that tunnel doing that. We should have just taken that video from South Carolina football, ran it right as you're fading the BT music. We just roll that in, and that's how we're going to start every show this week. What an absolute
buffoon.
Tool bag. Hammer, wrench, screwdriver, Phillips head, flathead, Allen wrench, the whole thing. All in one. That's what you got with Shane Beamer.
There.
Anyway, that's our top 5 college football winners and losers for this week in mid-November. We're going to finish final 5 minutes with our final top 5. It's the most aesthetically pleasing plays to us in sports. I'm interested in this to see, because I think it gives me a lens through which Cade and Richard watch not their favorite teams, but watch sports and what they enjoy about sports. So I want to go last here. Richard, why don't you start us with your number 5?
My number 5 is going to be returns for touchdowns, so punts or kickoffs, because I love when the C's part. The blocking's done perfectly, and if you're in the end zone view and you can just see it open up in front of you and you can see the speedster burst through it, it's awesome. I think it's so cool to watch.
You like to see them burst through the holes, huh? Smooth.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Why'd you make it weird?
You made it weird.
I did not.
You're weird.
Perfectly normal question, Cade.
He's weird.
I put my number 5 is it's a tennis one. It's when it's a shot and they have to run and go get it, and then while they're on the run they hit it and they get a clean winner like down the line, and sometimes they'll like bend around the net a little bit.
Sweet, dude.
Tennis guy.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. It's your opinion.
But yeah.
Don't let Richard bully you. That's fine. That's a good answer.
Good pull, Cade. Good pull.
It's a good. Don't forget, this guy has dominated these top 5 lists.
He's good at it. Yeah, he pulls weird stuff out.
My number 5 is a 3-pointer off of a screen. Think J.J. Redick. Think Jimmer Fredette running off of a screen, no dribble. Catch
Ruben
and shoot.
Dominguez.
Catch and shoot as you're coming off a screen.
I like that pull.
Klay Thompson, no dribbles.
All right, let's go. We got
4 on my list. Maybe a little recency bias, but that perfectly thrown ball that can only be caught by the receiver, whether it's a dive or a leap. It's recency bias because ABR and Marcel Reed connected for it. That there's just something special about that.
Number 4 on my list is deep ball in stride.
Yeah.
And it hurt me to watch Lenore Sellers do that one, but
I'm talking about it takes a little something extra than in stride.
I just like perfectly thrown deep, layered, perfectly thrown deep balls. Love it.
Yeah.
My number 4 was like a perfectly run flea flicker or double reverse.
Oh, trick play guy.
Yeah, well, those. I just think it's like super fun when it works like perfectly and the guy is wide
kinda look
open
like
like he's
Inspector
supposed
Gadget.
to be. Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. Beckham. Nice, Cade.
Matthew Broderick is Inspector
number
Gadget
3
or the cartoon?
Just we got to keep it moving.
3 for me, they're aesthetically pleasing usually means it's good on a photo, so a posterizing dunk.
Okay.
It's in the name, right?
Cade, number 3 for you.
My number 3 was like a step back or like an ankle breaker 3 where it's just all net.
Like Allen Iverson, Steph Curry.
Yeah, or like James Harden would be my my
just like one shimmy and then pull back, pull up 3.
Yeah, but it's got to be like no rim, all clean, like all net.
So my number 3 is it's not a deep ball in stride, but it's a layered throw hole shot. So the one that Marcel made, both of them that he made to KC, the one down the right when they were going toward the north end zone where he fit it between the corner and the safety.
Yeah.
And then the one that Stephen McGee said was the best throw that he'd seen on the final drive where he got it up over the linebacker and then down. So like an up and down throw or a whole shot throw, I think they're incredibly pleasing to watch.
Okay, 2 on my list. I'll go to the hockey when it's like a 2-on-1 break and it's the perfectly executed tic-tac-toe. Maybe it's an extra pass. It gets the goalie moving a little bit and it's wide open. I don't think there's anything better in the sport of hockey and the team sport aspect of it to where you guys work perfectly to make your opponent look foolish. Tic-tac-toe is awesome.
My number 2, it kind of like it involves the fan element as well, but like a no doubter walk off home run, like when they know off the bat and you can tell that it's gone off the bat as well. It's because you get the crowd pop with it as well and the sweet swing and the bat flip and yeah, it's great. I
like an outfield assist via a double cut.
Ooh.
A cut and relay, but I just put outfield assist because I love watching like the Rick Ankiel highlight reel throws, the Ramon Liriano double up the runner at first, all the big throws you've ever seen in baseball. But I'll add the caveat, I love when there's a double cut element.
It's well executed.
Yes.
Yeah.
1 on my list, I had to go baseball, my favorite sport, the 5-4-3 double play.
We're on opposite ends
around the horn.
Interesting.
Go, Cade. We got to finish up.
My number 1, I put a free kick goal in soccer.
Nice. I like that. Maybe Declan Rice against Real Madrid twice.
Yeah, that one was real nasty.
And my favorite, most aesthetically pleasing play in my eye is a 4-6-3 double play because the ball changes direction. I love that. Ball never stays over one fixed point in the ground. You get a good backhanded feed from the second baseman, good crisp backhand feed. Shortstop moves through the bag.
Yeah.
I like it, the ball changing direction. So
I like the long throws, and then on the scorebook, the around the horn looks nice too.
All right, we'll be back. By the way, programming announcement, no B team next Wednesday or Thursday due to Thanksgiving. So we'll have one show next Tuesday. But we'll be back here tomorrow, 5:45, and on Thursday, 5:45, as we get you ready for another weekend of college football. We thank you. We appreciate you tuning in to the B Team, presented by Southwood Valley Animal Hospital.